Hello and welcome to our Resumes That Work webinar. This information is all about how you can craft a resume that really works in your favor. Usually that means getting an interview. We submit our resume to a job application or to a graduate program in hopes of being selected for an interview so that our audience can learn more about us. Sometimes we're submitting a resume for a scholarship or some sort of other opportunity. And usually when we give our resume to someone else, we're trying to elicit a positive response from them. And so we're going to talk today about how to make sure to do that on the resume that you have. First and foremost, I want to say that it's nice to virtually be able to connect with you today. My name is Katie Woolman. I'm a career counselor and I'm the Director of Career and Professional Development at Lenoir-Rhyne University, and I am very passionate about empowering our students to help them understand what goals it is that they want to achieve in life, and then getting the tools and tricks together to reach those goals. And the resume is certainly a big part of reaching our goals, especially when it comes to our career and our professional development. So our goals for today are to understand important resume basics, identify key hacks to increase the potential for positive responses to your resume, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the difference between a CV and a resume in case you're asked for that document in the future. Well, let's get started. And we're going to get started by focusing on the basics. No matter what your resume looks like, no matter the format that you've chosen to use, your resume needs to be clean, concise, and easy to read. So we do not have a lot of time to make a positive impression on our reader. And so we want to make sure that our resume is very easy to read and very easy to follow, regardless of the graphic design elements that we may have on this document. We want to absolutely be error-free. So for instance, no typos, no grammar errors. That's consistent across every resume. The more that we can show them that we're detail-oriented, the better. We also want to make sure that all of the information on our resume is honest and accurate to the best of our ability. Sometimes when we work with students, they may not remember exact start dates and end dates of employment or volunteering, and that's not a problem as long as we're doing our best to represent ourselves accurately. That's what we want to shoot for. We also want our resume to eventually be able to focus on our related experiences. So obtaining internships, work-study jobs, volunteering, any type of experience, maybe it's shadowing, that allows you to explore the career that you're interested in. Also helps you develop related experience that's going to help you become marketable to enter into that career field. And so eventually on our college resume, we want to be able to highlight our related experience. But it's understandable if we are a first-year student or a second-year student, we may not have a lot of related experience to share yet. But if it's something that we don't have, then that's definitely something we can focus on obtaining at any point in our career. We also want to highlight our strengths in all the ways that we can, not only with our resume, but with our presence on social media. And so we want those to be consistent across all the platforms that we are using to market ourselves. I would highly encourage students, if they're not aware of what their strengths might be, to take a career assessment that we have in the Career Center. And this helps you identify what strengths you may have in the workplace and in a professional setting. We all have them, and if you're not ready to articulate them, then your marketing materials are not going to help you as much as they could. So let's dive into some of the basic sections that a resume is going to have and the ideal order of those. So here is a screenshot of the top part of a resume. We have a lot of sample resumes available for students in the Career Center and virtually available on our portal and on Handshake. And this is an example that we often share because it's very simple, concise, and straightforward, but very effective at the same time. So at the top of our resume, we have our name, big and bold. We're the subject of the document. We want that to stand out. we have our contact information right under that so that it's very easy for the reader to follow up with us should they want to invite us to an interview. Nowadays, it is perfectly acceptable to take off your physical address if you want to maintain your privacy. And I'm going to mention this later on in the webinar, but it's also a great idea to put your LinkedIn URL here at the top of your resume if you have a LinkedIn profile. That will help your reader see lots more details about you. Then you may or may not have an objective statement after that heading. If it is very clear what you are pursuing, and especially if you have another opportunity like a personal statement or a cover letter to explain your objective, then you don't need it on the resume. So this is an example of a resume that doesn't have an objective statement and just dives right into the education section. For current college students, current graduate students, and recent graduates, we recommend listing education as the first section on your resume because it's been your priority for the past couple of years regarding your career. And so we usually highlight that at the top. Unlike work experience, we only list dates of attainment. So you only list your graduation dates. You spell out the degree that you're earning. You spell out the name of your institution, making sure to spell it correctly, including the city and the state and GPA if applicable, and if that is a positive number for you. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we want to have a section for related experience if we can. And so that is something that we will highlight on the resume. In an experience section, we can call that related experience or use a very specific term to our career, teaching experience, counseling experience, research experience, whatever field we're entering. We can actually call this section something very tailored to our field. Anytime you can tailor your resume to your audience, the better it's going to work, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. You also see a lot of bullet points here on this sample, and that is another technique that we're going to dive into more in depth here coming up in a couple slides. Moving on, most of our students have a lot of college and community involvement throughout their experience at Lenoir-Rhyne. And so these are some samples of typical experiences that our students have. Maybe you've had a work-study job, maybe you've been an RA. Definitely if you've been a student athlete, that is something that you should represent on your resume, even if it's not related to your career that you are entering, because it is able to showcase a lot of your skills and abilities and some of your character traits. Volunteering in the community is important to put on your resume. And we don't always see a skills section on the resume, but if we do, we want it to showcase tangible skills like language skills, computer skills. We want to save our soft skills for the bulleted statements within our experiences. Employers tell us they'd rather us show versus tell our skills, and so those bullet points play an even more important role in doing that. Now, these are two screenshots of two different resume styles, and the length of the resume is going to vary depending on your field. We encourage all students to have what we call a master resume, and that's one in which the length isn't important. It's more about you putting on a document all the experiences that you've had. And then depending on your career field, you may have to shorten that resume to a targeted one-page document. And we're going to show you how to really make the most of the space that you have on that document. So the first resume hack that we have for you is think about what's in it for them being your audience. As I said earlier, a resume that is tailored to its audience is always going to work better. So this takes a little bit more time to tailor your master resume to your targeted job. However, it's going to ensure that your resume is much more effective. So we want to zero in on creating bulleted statements, leading with action verbs and keywords tailored to our audience. We want to save our job description when we're applying for an internship or job. This works for graduate school as well. And I encourage students to save that into a Google Doc for themselves, and that way they are able to keep track of it when an online job description can be difficult to find in the future. And it also enables students to be able to highlight the requirements or the themes or the patterns that they're noticing in that job description. For instance, if a job description mentions that they want their candidate to be innovative 3 times, then we want to try to find a way to represent that skill in our marketing materials, only if it maintains our integrity. So we want to match that job description as much as we can. However, we want to maintain our integrity and make sure that we're not making anything up about ourselves. Just like a first date, we can make things up to make our first date give a great first impression. However, it's really about the long-term relationship, so we want to be genuine and honest with our first date and with our employer so that they know what they're getting 6 months down the road. And as I mentioned before, we've only got mere seconds to grab our readers' attention. So again, if they're seeing lots of keywords that they've mentioned in their job description of what they're looking for, they're definitely more likely to give us a little bit more of their time and attention and hopefully invite us in for an interview. So this is a good point in the webinar for you to pause the screen and think about, or either look at your current resume and practice writing some of these phrases that might be relevant to the experiences you've had and the types of jobs that you're looking for. So these are examples with great action words, tasks included, and results included at the end. And so the sample would read on a resume: prioritize multiple tasks in a fast-paced environment to meet weekly deadlines. We want to vary up the action words that we use. So you see here the words are prioritize, collaborate, develop. We don't want to use the same words over and over again, especially if they're words like assisted or worked. That's not telling the reader anything about the skills that we bring to the table. So encourage you to Google action words for your career field and also look on the portal and Handshake for action words that are commonly used on resumes that we provided for you. This is going to take some time to get your bullet points in a format like this, but again, it will really help the reader see what skills you're bringing to the table and what results you might be able to achieve for their company. Resume hack number 2. This is especially important in our digital age. We want to be able to pass the ATS test. And what is the ATS test? You may be asking yourself, well, ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. This is a system that larger companies use in order to manage their hiring process. Companies usually receive hundreds of resumes from unqualified applicants for their positions, and an applicant tracking system reviews keywords on those resumes and automatically narrows the pool to the candidates with the keywords that they're looking for. So this definitely creates a more efficient system for the company, yet it's a more competitive system for us to try to navigate because we may have the skills that the employers are looking for. We may just not have used the words that their applicant tracking system has identified. So this makes matching of keywords from your industry and from the job description, especially regarding education, experience, skills, competencies, even more important. Authenticity and integrity still matter, however, like I said earlier. So while we want to match the job description as well as we can, we want to make sure that we are accurately representing what we've done and what we feel like we're capable of doing in the future. So here is another opportunity for you to pause the webinar and look at your current resume or write down these keywords that might need to be on there. These keywords are actually a set of career readiness skills that employers expect in new hires that they have and candidates coming right out of college. They are looking for you to have critical thinking and problem solving skills. They want you to have strong oral and written communication skills, Teamwork and collaboration are essential in every field. Your familiarity with digital technology will depend on your major and the industry that you're entering. And of course, training is available. But from interacting with a lot of our employers who are recruiting you, they definitely want you to have a certain level of comfort and skill with digital technologies. They want their candidates to have leadership experience, a professionalism and work ethic. And so, for instance, if you've had the same work-study job all 4 years of your college experience, that can definitely speak to your work ethic and ability to be a professional. Career management is another skill that employers expect for you to have. And you may not have that as a specific bullet point in an experience that you've had. However, the fact that you have a polished and professional looking resume demonstrates your ability to manage your career. Employers nowadays also want candidates to have a certain level of global and intercultural fluency, familiarity and an eagerness to work with various cultures, be knowledgeable about global affairs. Depending on your career field, that's going to change a little bit. But every industry and every career field is certainly global. And so this is definitely something that employers are going to be looking for. So if you've studied abroad or if you know another language, those are definitely going to be things that would be great for you to highlight on your marketing materials. Ooh, went a little bit too fast there. So the third resume hack for you is to link, not lengthen. So one page is still what most employers expect new college grads to have. And in working with Lenoir-Rhyne students over the years, the tendency is to have a much longer resume, which is a great thing because of all of the transformative and great experiences that you guys are getting in a Lenoir-Rhyne education. However, that creates a challenge when you have to make some decisions about what goes on that page from your master resume. So when I've asked employers about this dilemma, they've suggested that this is a great time to use your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile is a social media tool that allows you to connect with other professionals while showcasing your strengths and your professional and educational experiences. And so this is a platform that folks can just scroll and scroll on. It doesn't need to have a limit. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is one that is very complete, has lots of details about your experiences, and then be ready to put that link on your resume and maybe cut out some of the details on the one-page document. By providing that LinkedIn link, you will be able to show employers, again, that you have a very professional image and they can look at more details if they're so inclined while getting a one-page snapshot from you. There are also a couple of other things that you can do on LinkedIn, and keep an eye out for future webinars regarding how to make the most of LinkedIn. You can join groups and follow companies that you're interested in and connect with people on LinkedIn. One of my favorite things about LinkedIn is that when you look for jobs, you can see if anyone in your network works there or worked there or has any kind of connection to that company. And most people still get their foot in the door to a new company or new opportunity through networking. So LinkedIn really helps you leverage your networking connections. And another feature that I really like on LinkedIn is the ability to get and give recommendations. That way an employer doesn't have to go through the process. They probably still will if you're the right candidate to collect recommendations from you, but it gives them a glance at what people are already saying about you. So again, if you've not developed your LinkedIn profile and you have a long resume, you definitely want to link, not lengthen. And so again, here's an opportunity to practice this hack. I'm showing you a screenshot of the top of my public profile on LinkedIn. You'll see that my URL is customized. So when we first start a LinkedIn profile, we're given a URL. And it has a lot of random numbers at the end of it. And so we can go over here to edit public profile and URL, click on that, and update our URL so that it is just reflective of our name. You may have to try a couple of different versions of your name before you find a version that somebody else hasn't already snatched up. However, it's a great idea because it helps keep your URL nice and concise, and then it looks really great on the top of that resume or in your email signature. So again, just another great marketing tool that we have at our disposal. Now, that gives you a really quick but hopefully helpful overview of what you need to be thinking about in regards to your resume and making it as effective as it can be. Let me just give you a little bit of information about curriculum vitae. So you might be asked for a CV. If you are, then you're probably in an academic or a research field. So a CV is typically talked about in the world of academia. So professors have CVs. If you're going into a research field, you might be asked for a CV. Stands for curriculum vitae. It means the life of your education. And it's very similar to a resume. Typically, though, a curriculum vitae has categories like research, presentations, publications, and courses taught. So therefore, because of these special categories, someone like your professor may have a lot of presentations and publications that they've already participated in, but usually undergraduates are just getting started with these things. So it's very likely that someone's CV or resume at the undergraduate level looks like the very same document and may not have a lot of difference to it. This is another opportunity for you to pause the webinar and capture this link at the bottom. UNC Chapel Hill has an excellent guide on the differences between resumes and CVs and a couple of samples for you that are extremely helpful to look at if you need to prepare that curriculum vitae. And again, you're most likely to be asked about it when you're applying for graduate school in a research discipline. Curriculum vitae or CV is also a more commonly used term in Europe and Asian countries. And so if you're applying for a job abroad, it's likely that you're going to be asked for a CV. But just know that unless you have lots of research, presentations, publications, and courses that you've taught, your CV is going to look very much like your resume. These are some of the sources that were consulted to share this information with you today. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that we are here to help. Everyone's resume is very unique to them. And so we want to help you with your particular resume, knowing that your scenario, your situation is unique to you. We have one-on-one confidential coaching available to you virtually. And especially when you may not be able to get to campus or we may not be there, we want you to know we're still here for you. And the great thing about our services are that they're free and available to you for the rest of your lifetime once you graduate from LR. So it's never going to be too late to connect with us. You can see the link on your screen to make an appointment via handshake, so you can even request an appointment virtually. And we can have the appointment virtually via Zoom, Skype, or phone. So please know that we are here and we are eager to help you. And hopefully this webinar gave you a little idea of what your resume needs to look like. And I really hope it's encouraged you to reach out and let us help you. And with that, I will leave you with the idea that you have put a lot of effort into your college experience and in all the other on and off campus experiences that you've had. You want to make sure that your resume sings your praises like we would, and it's not a time to be humble or shy. So let us help you market yourself, and we look forward to hopefully working with you very, very soon.